What's up, everybody, and welcome to a brand new episode of the
Geek Buddies! Hey!
For some of you missed our main show, that is our new intro for the Geek Buddies. There might be a couple of alterations to it, but overall, that is the new intro. We're trying it out. It's called what they call a soft opening for some people, and this is our new layout for now. But the red is a bit bright. We heard some of you all, so we're going to mess around with some variations of it as well. It's all a work in progress. Yes, go ahead. Yes.
Don't air our dirty laundry. Just let them know we got a new look, and we're going to be making tweaks to it. You don't got to let them know everything.
You know, the one in the comments soon that is like, why is everything changing? Why do they keep changing everything? I mean, you know, you're trying to get it right, and we love to hear from the people what they think about our changes in our graphics. So, but we're getting into the spoiler review for Thunderbolts, the film that is out in theaters this weekend. Thanks to everybody who's joining us here live on a Sunday night. Let's introduce ourselves before we jump into it. For those of you who might be new, I am John Rocha, writer, producer, and host here on the Geek Buddies.
I am Michael Vogel, writer and producer of animated TV shows and movies. And Travis, I hope your drink didn't get too cold while you were waiting for us. Too warm. Too warm.
Oh, sorry, Travis. Sorry. Yes, Shannon.
And this is Shannon McClung. I'm an animation writer and a television actor. And Travis, I hope your drink didn't get too warm while you were
I know
waiting.
that's what I messed it up. That's fine. I was still reeling from John Rocha airing all of our dirty laundry about our changes.
You came in hot with the criticism, so you got to get some back.
Well, I was just, I like to put things up, but things may change during the course of the show, depending on how fast our graphic designer gets back to us. We will see. But anyway, this is the spoiler review for this brand new Marvel film that is out in theaters now, Thunderbolts. Thunderbolts. So much to get into here, and certainly bringing back the love of the Marvel Universe, the MCU, back to a lot of people over the weekend. I haven't seen people like overwhelmingly excited about Marvel in quite some time, and this film has done something to get people really excited. We're going to break down the acting, the direction, the score, the cinematography. We're going to talk about it all, and of course, the mid-credit and post-credit scenes that lead into the next phases of the MCU as well. So just to let you know, a spoiler review. So Michael, let's start with you. Overall thoughts on this movie. Valentina trying to get rid of this crew. They all come together and fight against her, -1. And we discover the Sentry. We discover the Void. And in the end, it all takes a bunch of hugging and we get through it. And then we get a massive reveal in the post-credit scene. So what did you think of this film overall here in the Marvel Universe?
Well, I had a blast. I mean, like a lot of people, I watched this movie and came out just feeling good about the MCU. I was like, okay, I feel good. Now, having said that, here's what I said to a lot of people this weekend when they asked me how I felt about it. I think had this movie come out during phases 2 or 3 of Marvel, when we were in our heyday of like the Civil Wars and the Black Panthers and Guardians of the Galaxy, I think people would have looked at this movie as a really solid B. Yeah. Like it would be in like the Ant-Man territory. Like I love Ant-Man. I think Ant-Man is a great movie, but Ant-Man isn't like Civil War and Infinity War. But I think what people are responding to and what you're talking about is Marvel. And look, we talk about this, I feel like every other week on Geek Buddies, but like phases 4 and a good chunk of phase 5, as much as there's been some really amazing highlights, we have not really had a direction. We've had the quantum realm and we've had the multiverse and we've had new characters popping up, but we didn't really understand why there were no Avengers, what was going on, what's the government. We didn't really feel like we were moving forward. And in addition to just being a really nice, tight script with really fun characters that work really well, that we enjoy watching on screen, this movie moved the MCU forward. We know what's happening. We know where we're going. We know who's doing what. Like they just at a very basic level did what the MCU is supposed to do. It brought a bunch of characters from different movies together. They were funny and we had a good time. And they moved this bigger story forward in a way that got us excited. And they checked all 3 of those boxes. And I think it was a blast. Like I had a really, really good time. Do I think that there's some things they could have done better? Do I think there's some things that could have been stronger? Yes. But all of my critiques that I will have in our spoiler review are, I liked this this could have made it better. But as opposed to the past few Marvel movies, I don't have anything in this movie where I was like, well, that was way off base. They got that wrong. Like everything they did in this movie, they did right. And the best thing is Yelena Belova, put her everywhere in the MCU. Like Yelena Belova was great in Black Widow. She was great in Hawkeye. And she is great in this. And her character and her arc and her relationship to Natasha and everything about her, she is nailing it, and she is gold for the MCU. So have some thoughts about it. I don't think it was the biggest thing in the world. It's kind of nice, a solid B, smaller movie in the MCU, but they got us back on track, and I'm thrilled that they did it, and I had an absolute blast watching it.
Shannon, your thoughts on Thunderbolts here as an entry in the MCU?
Like Vogel, I had a lot of fun. I mean, it was nice to be in a packed theater with people that were excited about the MCU again. And it definitely, as Vogel already said, there was forward progression within the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I think when Phase 4 started, we got a lot of good stuff on Disney Plus at the beginning. Like, WandaVision was super solid. Felt like the universe was moving forward. Falcon and Winter Soldier was a little hit and miss, but overall, I enjoyed it. And I thought Loki was solid. Hawkeye was solid. Shang-Chi, definitely solid. But they started to introduce new characters. And we like Shang-Chi. We didn't love Eternals across the board. You started to feel like so many things were taking place off of Earth that it felt like we were just kind of running in place for a while. And the things that we did get on Earth, they just weren't quite footing. It just wasn't checking the box overall. This one felt like a return to form. And there are like little things. I think what Vogel said is pretty accurate. Like overall, I enjoyed the movie. I mean, to me, this was a solid B+ for me. Are there things that pluses that could have happened that would have strengthened it? Yeah, probably. There's only one thing I would have taken out, but overall, I really enjoyed it. I went and saw it again yesterday, and again, feeling that excitement in the theaters. It's an intoxicating experience, and it's what we were getting repeatedly with Phase 3. So I'm hoping that is what we're in store for in the next 2 years.
Yeah, I think that's where I fall with it, is that it has brought back the excitement that you had back in the heyday of the MCU. Now, I'm not saying this is Infinity War Endgame, not at all. I think Michael says, smaller approach to it, but still delivered a big punch. And as you said, moved the MCU forward. And that's exciting. Also introducing a new character like Sentry / the Void into the MCU. I think they did that well for the most part. And yeah, I agree with you, Shannon. I think it's a very strong start. I think in the last act, there's a little bit of, you can make some criticisms here, how quickly things get resolved and what have you, but it has such a strong opening and second act that you kind of forgive it a little bit by the end of the movie, because you want something really good to come out of the Marvel Universe to get you excited as we go into Fantastic Four. And this certainly feels like we're turning the corner. And the box office shows it, $76 million for it domestically. Now that's the official haul, and $162 million globally. Now I know that's behind Captain America, behind a couple others, but this is all a bunch of people. Some of them were introduced in TV shows, and you've got Yelena Belova, you've got Sebastian Stan as the ones that are kind of main out front, but they do a really nice job of getting people to be excited about this with their performances. This is a very well character-driven story. And I like the action. The action was the right amount of action for a movie like this. And the jokes worked way more often than they didn't, which is, I think, another thing that's really important. And they got back to what made the first phase of MCU work for a lot of us, and some of the second phase. They made them human interest stories. What was Tony's story? I want to stop being an arms dealer because I realize the damage I'm doing to the world. I want to be a better person, use my technology to be a better person. All of these people are struggling through their things that they have to get over because they want to be heroes. They just want to be better versions of themselves as heroes. Yeah. And I think it's great by the end, Michael, you want to interject something? Yeah.
I was going to say, what the experience of Thunderbolts really reminded me of, and anyone who is a comic book reader, I think, can relate to this, is you're reading your favorite comic book line. Like it's X-Men, it's Avengers, whatever and it just gets bad. Like you go through 3, 6, 8, 10 months of like, man, this story's fucking garbage, but you keep reading it because you've loved the comic. And then they bring in a new creative team. And it starts small, but you'll get to that. Oh, here's this new creative team. And you read like the first arc, and it's not the biggest arc,
right?
But you can just feel that the story is cooking. Like you can just feel like you're on a new track. And then you're like back on board and your comic book gets good again. And that's what I feel. I feel like we've all been reading the MCU comic book in the movie theater.
Yeah.
And we all agree that the MCU comic book wasn't as good as it was a few years ago when they had that great Infinity War Endgame arc. And all of a sudden, we're like, oh shit, did you read the latest issue? The latest issue. It was small, but like, I'm into where this is going. And I think that's the vibe that everyone has coming out of this weekend.
Yeah, it's almost like the episode of a TV show that you've been kind of going, I know it's going to make that turn. I'm just not sure when's going to make that turn. And boom, it makes that turn like you were saying, Mike. That's an excellent point. Well, let's go back to you, Michael. Let's talk about the story here. As I said, did you like the way this film was constructed with Valentina being the one who is getting them all together, bringing them into this facility, this Ox facility? She's being impeached, which is very interesting story here. Sebastian Stan being a congressman as well as part of this impeachment with Wendell Pierce, who's doing a great job on Elsbeth, if you're watching that show. And so
he is great on Elsbeth.
Miss Tassione. And so this stuff you see in there, and it's all leading to them coming together. We have the death of Taskmaster, and they slowly but surely come to face their stuff, come to face their issues. And by the time they come together, they get the best of Valentina, they get the best of the Void, and they are announced by the end of the post-credit scene as the new Avengers. So you tell me, how was this constructed? Did you like the way this worked, or did you have some issues with some of the acts here and some of the story beats?
Again, I think everything about this movie, from the budget that they had to do it to the, like, it's small and it's tight.
Yeah.
And the story here is very straightforward. This is not a huge, complicated story with 95 different plots going on. It's really clear. Valentina's in trouble with the government. She's cleaning up her mess. Part of her mess are all the operatives she's been using. She tries to get rid of them. She has a plan. And like, here's what's great about the movie. Valentina in the opening scene when she's being impeached goes, the Avengers are not coming. We got to figure out our shit. Yeah. You find out that what she's been doing is to try to make her own Avenger. And by the end of the movie, she has changed her mind and said, nope, I got it. These are my Avengers. Boom, boom, boom. And then what's great about that is the overall plot, not complicated. We're not in the quantum realm. We're not time traveling. We don't have the TVA doing anything. This is just like a corrupt person doing her corrupt bullshit. And what that allows for is the great character story. Yeah. What that allows for is to us go, oh, here's a bunch of people that are fucking losers. Like, here's a bunch of people that have done bad things. They're not good people. They've all fucked up. And again, whether you've watched the TV shows or you just pick it up because you're watching the movie, or the TV shows and the movies, like, you got a former Black Widow, you got Ghost dealing with Ghost, a tiny character from Ant-Man and Wasp that I thought they utilized well. Yeah. John Walker picking up his story from Falcon and Winter Soldier, I think really, really well. Red Guardian picking up from Black Widow, and each one of them, because the story is so basic and straightforward, we really get to spend some time with them and what they're doing. And then because Bob's abilities allow him to really see inside, we get a really good, easy way to tap right into what people are dealing with, to see what their darkest secrets are, to see what really makes them tick. So, they constructed something that, like, again, I don't think that the structure of the Thunderbolts movie is the most revolutionary, brilliant thing in the world. I don't think they did something on a scale where you're like, I've never seen this before. But they went out there and said, we are going to just hit a solid single. Is that what we're saying, baseball? We just did a single? Okay. And they nailed it. Like, it was really clear. And again, even though we didn't all know that we were going to go straight to New Avengers, I think some of us thought it was going to be something in that realm. But like, it was like, I'm going to make new superheroes. Oh, the superhero I made was bad. I'm going to use these people that I tried to kill and make them my new superheroes. This is the new team. It was just boom, boom, boom. And so, again, watching something where they just set up the pins and knock them down really, really easily in a satisfying way, compared to some of what we've gotten recently, it was just a delight to watch something that just worked. Even if it wasn't brilliant, it worked really, really well.
Okay. Shannon, your thoughts on how the story was constructed and some of the writing here? What did you think of the story beats and overall what happened with all these characters and their journeys?
Overall, I thought I thought it was more than a single. I think they hit a solid double. Another
Okay.
baseball reference, Mikey. That's when you get
There's a home run and then there's other stuff. That's what I know.
that's when you get to second base.
What is it? A thruple? Is it a thruple?
It's
When you
not
get
a
to third
throuple.
base?
It's not a throuple. It's a
A
triple.
single, a double, and a thruple?
Yeah.
Depends on where you're playing baseball. Anywho,
No.
but no, I really enjoyed it, and I think the strength came from the ensemble. Most of these people have not worked together before in Marvel, and part of the joy of the first Avengers film was watching these people meet and get to know each other. And like, they obviously know of each other, but now we're getting to watch them interact and watching this team accidentally assemble, and you see the strife that's present at the beginning, and it slowly starts to improve to where they become sort of this cohesive unit. I thought it was really satisfying. And again, Florence Pugh is such a great anchor for this movie. I mean, picking up that Black Widow torch from Scarlett Johansson. And I mean, I would argue, I think Florence Pugh is probably, I think Scarlett Johansson is great. I think Florence Pugh is probably brings more nuance to a role. I think she's probably a better performer. But also she had a lot to play here, dealing with the loss of Natasha that she's still wrestling with, this new path that she's been on, knowing all this bad crap that she's done and how it keeps resurfacing. It was really, really well done. I mean, I think there are moments where there is a little bit of lack of clarity that does not take the movie off the rails, but I think it maybe would have helped from time to time. But overall, the chemistry between the cast and between the characters is what really strengthens the film. And, you know, by the time we get to that post-credit sequence, we are so excited to see how this team is going to interact with this team and with this team and with this team. Like, there is a lot of potential in what we got.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with you, Michael, that it's a pretty simple story. We've seen it before, right? This is like Major League. A bunch of cast-offs are brought together. Then the unlikely manager who Yelena grows into as the film goes along brings them together, and instead of having the female villain be someone they take the clothes off so they get to the playoffs,
they could do that in the 80s. You don't do that today.
That's right, but you figuratively did, because they were trying to dismantle her power. Yes. And as every win of theirs dismantled her power even more, but by the end she pulled a twist on them by controlling them, and by announcing them to the press. But they said to her, "We own you now." So that was a really interesting moment and a powerful moment, because they've all come together and embraced each other's differences and flaws. And I thought that was a really powerful element of the film, but also getting a chance. I know we didn't get a lot of time with like Ghost or with Walker or with Sebastian Stan even, but we got enough to get the gist of what they're going through. The Void, they used Sentry really well before they brought him out fully into his powers. Every time they touched his hand, they went to some dark memory. We saw what Yelena saw, which was pretty harrowing and heartbreaking. They brought back the young actress who played her in Black Widow. That was really the younger version of herself in Black Widow. That was really strong to see that scene. John Walker sitting there with his kid crying and looking at, articles about himself, feeling even worse. His wife coming in and yelling at him. And then we didn't see too much with Ghost, but Ghost in her own issues, her own things, trying to figure out where she belongs and what have you after Ant-Man and the Wasp. So every one of them being displaced for different reasons, and then finding a way after fighting with each other to work together. I mean, that scene where they're climbing up the shaft using their feet and push. I mean, that is just genius to go to that level to show how difficult it is for them to be worked together. But then eventually figuring out that they have to actually care for each other. They have to fight for each other. And Yelena having that scene with her dad, with Harbour, fuck, man, that's the scene of the movie for me. Her just saying, I've made so many mistakes. Why? And then Alexei saying, when I look at you, I don't see the mistakes. I just see you. That is so powerful as when they all hugged Bob and having what he was going through, so making mental health a huge part of the movie, making it about overcoming mistakes, because we all mess up in life, to try to be better, that there's always a chance to be better. I think all of that worked well through the story. And also, you know, we made references to Cap 4, we made certain references, but we didn't make it a big deal that it was connected to this overall story of the MCU. I saw some people complaining, why didn't Spider-Man show up? Why didn't Daredevil show up? I was like, shut the fuck up.
Well,
we
complain about that in we've complained about that since like Thor 2. I mean, like, it's part of the nature of, you know, in Winter Soldier, Cap and Black Widow got to go find someone they trust, so they go to Sam. Well, why didn't they go to Tony? Like, that is just, that is one of the things you just have to accept about the MCU.
Yeah.
But what my favorite thing that anybody said is they were like, I wonder what Spider-Man or Kingpin or anybody was dealing with when they went into their little room that the Void put them in there, and somebody was like, you know who was fine? The Punisher. He lives in that room every day. He went into that room and didn't know anything was different.
You're not showing me anything new. You're not showing me anything new. Yeah, exactly. That's a great point. But then when things get resolved on the political side of things, I mean, having an impeachment thing bubbling below the surface, I mean, that's certainly what we've been dealing with for years, over the last few years in the country. So there was a sense of topicality to that I really enjoyed as well. And they knew how to use Bucky, like Bucky a little bit here, a little bit there. You know, he's doing the yeoman's work there to get himself more and more a part of this. And I agree with you and Shannon, like, the more Yelena, the better. Florence is so built for this, and you don't want to compare, but I mean, I do think she's a better Black Widow than Scarlet, but it's also a different situation that she's walking into than Scarlet had to. So you'd have to factor all of that in as well. Yeah.
But I think, like, to give credit to Scarlet, I agree. But to give credit to Scarlet and to give credit of the whole arc of this thing, the whole arc of like what Scarlett Johansson dealt with Black Widow was a side character in Iron Man 2 who was the girl who got into the Avengers, but was always there was always that, like, everyone else was getting their own movies and was doing this, and then like you were like, where is she and where is she? And then you didn't get the first female. Well, Captain Marvel was the first,
right.
But then Black Widow didn't get her own movie until after she died, and everyone was like, okay, well, I mean, that's fine, but like, you know, you took so long to give Black Widow her own movie, but that movie introduced us to Yelena.
Yeah, right.
And it's almost like Scarlet walked so Yelena could run. Like, Yelena has taken off, and the best part, I mean, I know we'll talk about the post-credit scene later, but who's the leader of the new Avengers?
Well, the new Avengers, I think it's Yelena.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, is that, like, what's great is in a world where a certain subset of Twitter is always going to complain about, you put a woman here to be woke, or this is that, or that. Yelena is such a great character, and her story is so strong that it's not like anybody said she was the leader, and it's not like anyone's making a big deal out of it. But you look at that room and you're like, I mean, Yelena's Bucky's there, but Yelena's literally obviously the leader of this team. And so I think, like, as we get into like wherever we go post Secret Wars, I mean, give Black Widow her own fucking franchise. Like, she's gold.
I don't disagree with you. Let's move on to the acting, Shannon. I know we've already talked about Florence Pugh's performance, but we got to bring up everybody here to make sure we give him credit. Wyatt Russell here as John Walker, Louis Pullman as Sentry, aka the Void here. This is my favorite performance of Julia Louis-Dreyfus in the MCU as Valentina, David Harbour here as Alexei / the Red Guardian, and Hannah John-Kamen as Ghost. And even the assistant Val. I mean, like, your thoughts overall on how the acting went down. And by the way, bam, there's the new look. There we go. All right. Well, your thoughts there, Shannon, on the acting and the performances from all the actors in the film.
I mean, everybody was outstanding. I mean, some people got more to work with than others. I thought for what Wyatt Russell was given, he was excellent. Like, really, really was able to make the most out of one of the smaller subplots. But because he had that experience of Falcon and Winter Soldier, playing this guy for 6 episodes already, like he was really well equipped to come in and play this guy. Hannah John-Kamen, she got the short end of the stick. I'm wondering if there was a Ghost subplot that hit the cutting room floor, because it seemed like there was probably supposed to be something else. But Hannah John-Kamen is an excellent performer, and Ghost is just such a cool character with Ghost powers. And I think in the future they probably are going to give her more. My guess, because Taskmaster, I actually Googled, I'm like, has Ghost killed anyone in the MCU prior to Taskmaster? And it's like, she tried to kill people in Ant-Man and the Wasp, but she didn't actually kill anybody. So I'm wondering, like, was that the subplot? Is that she finally took someone's life and she was kind of having a hard time dealing with it? But if a subplot is kind of hampering your story, hampering the flow of your film, you got to take it out. So, but I mean, that is pure conjecture on my part. David Harbour, he is really able to balance that line where it's like he is about to go too broad, but then you get that scene with him and Yelena in New York where he's basically being this loving father figure that Yelena has not had consistently. So for all of his sort of broader choices, which I think 99% of them work, the smaller ones bring it back down.
Yeah.
Bucky always, Sebastian Stan, always fantastic in this role. Julie Louis-Dreyfus, look, I think there is a universe where Val was sprinkled in throughout phases 4 and 5 a bit more, so this impeachment hearing didn't feel so sudden, that there was more of a lead up. But I do agree with you, Johnny. For someone that I've been like, I feel like maybe this was a miscast. She in this was excellent. Louis Pullman as Bob. I mean, one, if you watch Top Gun Maverick, the guy actually, he has very good comedic timing. But the soulful depths in his eyes when he is having those emotional moments. I mean, trying not to get emotional right now. Watching Louis Pullman cry is heartbreaking. It is absolutely heartbreaking. And that's why that third act works so well, that, culminates in the giant group hug. But yeah, I mean, I thought performance wise, everyone was just pitch perfect.
Yeah. Michael, your thoughts on the acting here? Who stood out to you? What worked for you? Are there any scenes of acting that you want to make sure we stress? What are your thoughts?
I mean, Louis Pullman and Wyatt Russell really make a strong case for nepotism. They both brought it really. I mean, particularly Wyatt Russell, I think he deserves a lot of credit because John Walker is a hard character to do.
Oh yeah.
John Walker is a unlikable character that you like.
Yep.
And he walked that line exactly right. Like, he's a arrogant white male who just says the dumbest shit, and the whole she's not killing me. She's not killing me, obviously. I was Captain America. And he just nailed it in that way that even as he was being a douche, you were enjoying him. And that is a hard thing to actually pull off.
Yeah.
Louis Pullman, similarly, Bob is such a kind of meek character who, Bob has some big swings in the second act into the third act where you go from, you're kind of this sweet guy who all of a sudden buys into Val's shit and beats the fuck out of the people that were your friends for the first act and a half of the movie, and then goes on this whole sort of mental health journey. And there's a few moments in the movie where if he wasn't as good as he was, you would be like, wait, what the fuck is this guy doing? It happens too fast. There's moments that probably could have been judged a little bit, but they don't bother anybody that much because Louis Pullman's doing a really good job. Florence Pugh, I already said, I think is fucking MCU gold. I think she's absolutely amazing. I think everything she brings to Yelena Belova is fantastic. And as far as I'm concerned, she is by a long stretch top 3 things that have come out of Marvel since Endgame.
Yeah.
So she's amazing. And David Harbour, Shannon's absolutely right. David Harbour walks this line of being like, you walk right up to that edge of I hate you as a character. You're too much. You're doing too much. But he just infuses everything with so much belief.
Yeah.
And he's so ridiculous, but you sort of get there. There's a reality underneath the ridiculousness that makes it work.
Yeah.
That you accept it. Hannah John-Kamen, again, I think she deserves a lot of credit. And anytime you do, unless you are amazing, I'll give you an example. Toy Story 3 is one of the most amazing Pixar movies because every single person in the ensemble has something to do. Toy Story 4 is a really good movie, but most of the ensemble sits in an RV most of the time and doesn't really have much to do until the end of the movie.
That's a good point.
It's hard to give everybody a thing to do and still make the plot work and whatever. And she doesn't get a lot to do, but like Ghost has some interesting moments. Like Ghost has a repeated bit where she can get away, but she comes back. She gets out of the elevator. She gets out, but she comes back for them. She gets away, but she comes back with the escape vehicle. And she really makes the most of those moments in that even though we get the least of her story, you do get that maybe a part of her is craving a team, craving a family, craving people like, and I think she brings a lot to that. And then look, out of the three of us have been the biggest fan of Julia Louis-Dreyfus in the MCU, but even I'll admit that she kind of showed up. She came in hot in the scenes that she had. And you're like, between Falcon and Winter Soldier and the Black Widow post-credit sequence and Wakanda Forever, you're like, I get that you're bad. I don't really know what's happening. And I think what is true is that's because Julia Louis-Dreyfus didn't know. As Julia Louis-Dreyfus showed up for a day of filming, somebody handed her a script and said, this is who she is. And she was like, yeah, okay, fuck it.
Yeah.
Did the check clear? Here we go. But with this, as soon as she got like, okay, this is a fully fleshed character. And she goes, oh, I get who this person is now. I get what she's doing. And you got to see her really cook. And now I'm like, yeah, Val in the MCU, I'm in.
Yeah.
Like, this is a great character. It was a character with potential before. Yeah. And now it's a great character in the MCU.
Yeah, it's almost like on the job training. Like they had to put her in to figure out how to make her work really well. And she didn't feel added on like she did in Wakanda Forever. This is something that works completely well. You believed that she could run some kind of secret experiment here where she's trying to find a superhero that will defend America. You can understand how this can be a bit of a nebulous character now. Having her backstory, seeing what happened to her and her backstory and her father and the Italian stuff, like that was amazing to have that, because it gives more depth and more for us to kind of hang on to and question ourselves about when she does certain things in the MCU and in this movie. So I like that element of it. And I think Julia played the moment when she's watching her father die so well, because we've seen, lately in her independent films, in her smaller films, like she brings a lot of drama to tools out of the toolbox to show what she can do. And I love seeing that. I agree with you guys. Acting across the board was great. I really enjoyed what we got from everybody. Yes, I thought Bucky did Sebastian Stan just, he's doing what he's like the lower ranked version of the Tony Stark, where he is just popping in randomly in all of these places and doing a really good job of furthering Bucky's story, but also helping elevate everybody else who's in the movie with him. And I think he's great. There's not much more I can say about Florence than you guys already said. So shout out to her. It's amazing. More of her, the better. I agree. Louis Pullman did a really great job bringing that pathos to it. And this mixture of delusions of grandeur and massive insecurities, I mean, this is something that is very difficult to play. And when we go into his memories, man, that was emotional. I hear you, Shannon. I was seeing all of that. Anybody who's dealt with mental health, I certainly have had my bouts with it for years. You know what that is. You know what those memories are like. You know what it's like to just give up and sit in a room and just wallow in it and not climb out of it. And so to see how that's played out and how he dials into it was really, really powerful. Wyatt Russell, yes, absolutely. Not just when we see the flashback or the when he's in the void, we see that memory that's pretty heartbreaking, but when he gets outed as his wife and child having left him, that reaction was so devastating. Yelena looking over at him carried so much weight as well, because she now understands he's a guy who's putting on an air, but behind there is a lot of loss going on with him. And I'm very happy that Hannah John-Kamen got more real estate. I like her as an actress. I've seen her in a lot of British things. So her getting a little more time to show what she can do is a lot of fun. I like her energy. You guys are right. Harbour is basically a bear, and it's a fun bear to be around. As long as you have food, that bear is going to be fine around you. And so he doesn't go too far and then finds those moments to have really sweet connection. And look, he is constantly pumping up Yelena throughout the whole movie. He pulls out the city slickers. Where's your light is not as bright, but I see your light getting brighter because you're around these people. And then when she's constantly questioning herself, he is always talking about how great she is. And even their little banter about who sponsored the soccer team and all of that was so funny. And they work so well together because at the end, he really does love her. And even his moment where he admits to her that I haven't reached out because I'm terrible at it. I'm no good at it. Like your mother did that. I was no good at it. That carries weight. And so there was so much acting here that I thought was really good. And I'm sorry I didn't mention Geraldine Viswanathan, who I thought was great as Mel as well. I thought her comedic timing with Julie Louis-Dreyfus was damn good, and her in back and forth with Bucky was really good as well. And there's some people claiming that she might be Songbird. So who knows if that's going to play itself out. We will see in the MCU.
I will, and this is not to take away from her because I thought she did a really good job. I will admit that about halfway through the movie, knowing that role was going to be Io Edeberry.
Yeah.
I was like, she's doing great. Io Edeberry would have been amazing. That would have been a whole, like Io Edeberry and Julie Louis-Dreyfus going back and forth would have been a whole other level. But I do agree that she did a great job.
She had two big moments, and I noticed this in the second screening, and it made me irritated at both of my audiences for not appreciating these small takes that she did. When we first are seeing Val in that hearing, and I can't remember what the joke Val makes, but she looks over at
Department of Defense.
Department of Defense. She gives her an eyebrow raise, like, nice one, boss. I laughed out loud, and the rest of the audience was absolutely quiet. And I'm like, I'm not the asshole here. This was really funny. And at the first responders, families of first responders event, when it's a shot where we don't hear the dialogue. But when she kind of participates in the conversation, and you see Julie Louis-Dreyfus just shoot daggers at her, and the way she shrinks back down, I'm like, she's really good. So whoever pointed out in the comments,
I like her as well. So all right, so let's deal with this, gentlemen. What did you think of Sentry? What did you think of the introduction of Sentry, the way it's portrayed in the film? Not only acting wise, I mean character wise, and then when he becomes the Void, how unsettling, or was it not unsettling, were his actions and where we went to with him? Did you guys who've read the comics, you guys like the way Sentry is portrayed here and presented in the movie? Mike, I'll go to you first.
Yeah, I mean, I think I said early on when it was announced that Sentry was going to be in the movie that I was like, I don't know how you're going to do. Like, this is a complicated character. In the movie, Bob doesn't really remember what goes on. He has areas where he like loses his memory. Don't remember what happened here.
Right.
In the comics, the entire point of the Sentry is this guy starts to have flashes that he used to be a superhero, and you come to find out that Sentry had been a superhero, but because of the Void and everything, it had Doctor Strange erase everyone's memory, so the entire Marvel universe forgot about him. But then he starts to come back. And so I think they did a nice job. Like, some people were complaining that I've seen people saying, oh, they Homelanderized Sentry. Because the whole idea of the government trying to make a homegrown hero is not part of the Sentry story.
Right.
But I think, again, as we're dealing with who's going to be the Avengers, who's going to do this, I don't mind that they sort of took that concept and said, yeah, the government's trying to make a superhero, or Val, actually, Oxcorp, less than the government, but like, she's also the head of the CIA. So, that Oxcorp is trying to make this homegrown superhero, and that's where Sentry came from, I thought was really cool. And then sort of the addition, the Void and the Sentry has always been the core thing. And that idea of him having those two pieces and that you can't really have one without the other, that is from the comics. But the idea that like Bob touching people and kind of going into the rooms, the shame rooms where you're dealing with your stuff, that's new. And that was clearly, they really wanted to tell this story about mental health. And I thought that was a great addition. I think that's really cool. And the best thing that I can say about the way they handled Sentry is that I saw it with a good friend of ours today, one of our good buddies, and he is not a comic book person, has never heard of the Sentry in his entire life. And we got done with the movie, and his first question was, so wait, like, can he be Sentry again? But if he is Sentry, does the Void come back? Like, what happens? And then you got to the post-credit sequence, and they kind of established that Bob was there and he can't be the Sentry because if he's the Sentry. And the fact that like they sort of took this kind of complicated character and boiled it down so that a non-comic book person is like, okay, so wait, what happens next with Bob though?
Right.
Like, can he do this? But is the Void going to come back? And if the Void comes back, how are they going to defeat him? And like the fact that a non-comic book person has that sort of engagement with this character, to me, means they handled it correctly. So again, the MCU is always going to adapt things, simplify things, make different origins, twist something to fit the bigger MCU narrative. But I think Sentry, they did a really great job, and I'm excited that Bob is chilling there in Avengers Tower doing the dishes, not being the Sentry, and that we don't really know what's going to happen with him. But like that is huge story potential that, again, when we like the MCU, what we like is that there's this promise that there's this thing there that something's going to happen. And with most of phases 4 and 5, we would see something in the post credits and we've never heard about it again. Whereas with Bob, I think we're going to see more.
Okay. Real quick, Michael, what did you think of his design? Did you like the costume design? Did it work for you compared to what we've seen in the comics?
I think a lot of people early on when they saw it, they made fun of it because it has all those typical. You look at all these lines that you put in a costume in the movie, but because this was a government design costume, I think it really worked great.
Good point. Good point. Makes sense. All right, Shannon, your thoughts on how Sentry was presented? Did it work for you? Was it effective? And what do you think of the costume?
I mean, I'll start with the costume because I thought the costume was great because it looks like something that a focus group put together. Right, I mean, even as they when Yelena gets into the vault at the beginning, you see all of the potential hairstyles that they have, all of the different logos. I'm like, that's really, really clever. Like, that's fun. So the idea that he is sort of a government made superhero, I think adapting it, like kind of the Homelander thing, adapting that, I thought that made perfect sense because after that initial Sentry miniseries, when he was introduced, like in 2000, I think, he did start to come back more and more, and he was a character who does struggle with mental health. I mean, he has a girlfriend or wife in the comics that is kind of terrified of him. So I thought the potential is definitely there, and knowing that he has, the power of 1,000 exploding suns inside of him, my guess is we are absolutely going to see that again. And my guess is it's probably going to end in tragedy. That is my guess right now. But I thought Sentry, I thought it was great. I thought it was a great addition to the film.
I thought so too. Oh yeah, go ahead, Michael. Yeah.
No, go ahead. I'll go say what you're going to say. I'll add my thing at the end.
I was just going to say real quick that I thought they did a really good job of shaving down the edges, like they did with Tony Stark. We're not going to see Robert Downey Jr. Obviously, he died, but that Tony Stark died. But we weren't going to see him go on some bender and become an alcoholic. So the stuff with Sentry, we'll see the mental health stuff. I don't know necessarily that explore a storyline where he's terrorizing his wife. Like it's going to be a different thing. So they're going to make it so it works. But what's going to happen once all the Avengers with a Z take off? And he's there by himself and something happens, like what is he going to do? Will he be called upon? Will the Void overwhelm him? Because that's what can happen sometimes is mental health is when you're alone and you're having a bad day, that darkness can come on you and you don't see it coming. And that will be interesting to see if they explore mental health in that way through him. So I like that there's a rich minefield of stuff that people do deal with every day that they can explore with this character. And it seems like from the beginning, from this movie, they're handling it in the right way. And I like the way it was all presented. And I like the costume. And I'll ask Shannon a question just a sec. Go ahead, Michael. Sorry.
No, one of the things that I really enjoyed about this movie is in big ways and small ways, there's lots of tiny references, homages to the Avengers, to phases 1, 2, and 3, to how they formed, like lots of stuff. Yeah. One of the things that really struck me is I really do love Yelena's relationship with Bob. Like from the get-go when they met, but all the way through, and even when they get to the end, and I think Walker's like, well, what are we doing with him now? Like, what the fuck are we gonna do? Right. And Florence and Yelena's like, all right, Bob, you're sticking with me. And that there's this like protective, like she's not gonna let Bob out of her sight, even when they were like fighting their way out of the base, and she was like, Bob, you stay behind me. Like she's kind of Bob is like, Yelena's taking care of him, and it just has so many shades of Natasha and Bruce.
Yeah, great.
Hey, big guy, sun's coming down. Sun's coming down. And I don't know if it was intentional, if it just happened that way, but like it really, to me, struck me as a lovely thing that you could like when you watch the entirety of the MCU, you see how Natasha and Bruce have the relationship they have, particularly in Age of Ultron. And I'm not saying that Yelena and Bob is romantic at all, but there's a similarity to Sentry in a lot of ways is a new Hulk. He's a guy that can potentially be really powerful, but not if it goes bad. And the fact that you have another Black Widow kind of right by that person's side, I thought was a really nice touch.
Yeah, it's great points, Michael. And that leads me to my next question. I'll go to Shannon on this. What do you think of the action, Shannon? I mean, that scene with Sentry was fucking insane to see the ferocity and power of this guy and how much human beings are toys to him when he's in the power that he's using. But also there's a great action sequence when the Thunderbolts are being chased down and Bucky goes after them and all of the stuff that happens there. So, and then the final action sequence, of course. So what do you think of the action here in the movie? Did it work for you? Any issues with it?
I think the action is one place that could have been plussed up a little bit. I mean, I did really like that limo chase scene. Like that definitely had that MCU feel of exciting but funny at the same time. The moment that Red Guardian throws that Molotov cocktail and you see it connect, and they're like, "We did it!" and then immediately the fire extinguishes. Like it was just a lot of fun. Yeah. And the establishing of that sort of sonic device that can incapacitate Ghost, the moment that Ghost just has such cool powers. I love that. I love all of the phasing that she does, but she's immediately rendered kind of helpless because of this sonic device. Bucky showing up, that throwback to Winter Soldier with that sort of mine launcher, like that was just a great sequence. And the fact that they didn't flip one vehicle, they flipped two. Right. Like the Dark Knight flipped a semi. Like I think that's still the record. But the fact that you flipped a Humvee and then you flipped a stretch limo, and it looked practical, both of them. I was like, oh, that's fantastic. The opening fight in the vault, that's another area I like what they were attempting, and I felt like they probably could have gone just a little bit more. And that kind of gets to a point that I'm going to talk about later, but the dagger sort of ricocheting all the way around. I forget who threw it first, but Ghost grabs it. It bounces off of either Taskmaster or Walker's shield. I mean, watching everything happen like that was, again, it's a lot of fun. I think there were areas where it just could have been plus. That Sentry fight, I liked what they tried to do. I just wanted more. But I think that was probably the point, was to make it kind of short and sweet, that they cannot beat this guy. And I know I've read some criticism, like he went from breaking a glass to just fully laying out a team of warriors. But I mean, again, I think that's he's not a trained fighter. He doesn't have to be, because he's so fast and he's so strong, and all the other crap that he can do, like when he set someone's gun on fire. I think it was Bucky's. Yes. The moment in the theater when Bucky takes his jacket off, like, all right, it's time to get real, and how he immediately rips his arm off and just kind of tosses it aside.
No, he beats him with it. He beats him with it and then tosses it.
Did he beat him? Well, yeah, but
he hit him.
He tossed it at the
side,
but that was something, like, you saw the team sort of starting to emerge, despite the fact that they got down on the first floor and they're like, we can't do this. The moment that you see Walker put Bucky on Red Guardian's shoulder, like, you see them try, like, you see, even though, is Walker a douche? Yes. Is Red Guardian ridiculous? Yes. But they're also, in that moment, they're working to save another soldier. So I thought, like, that's really, really nice. And the whole thing at the end with the New York turning into this, ashy, shadowy, Mordor type vibe. I mean, I thought the rescue was a little overly choreographed. Like, I wish it had been a little more organic, because all of that stuff was raining down for a while. And a lot of pedestrians who froze in their boots, a lot of deer in headlights moments. But again, watching them save everyone, I'm like, this is nice. I wish it had felt a little more organic, but it was nice.
That's fair. Michael, your thoughts on the action?
Yeah, I echo what Shannon says. I think this is where you see a movie showing its budget and its schedule a little bit.
Yeah.
I think that, again, did the movie get the job done? A+. Every action scene that is there, it is clear, it is fun, it serves its purpose. And I think, and you called them out, but I think that the car chase, Bucky motorcycle moment, and Sentry in the Watchtower are probably the two highlights for me. I think those are the best fights. But like Shannon said, I think that every kind of big moment, what you begged for a little bit more. You begged for like, let's really dive in. And I feel like this is where the movie, and again, you know, this movie does not have the budget of Captain America: Brave New World. Yeah. Like it turned out a whole lot better, but it didn't have that budget. And so, you know, you get a point where it's like, the Sentry fight in the Watchtower is a great example. Like, John, you called it out that like one of your favorite moments. Shannon called it out and said, great, but like wished I had seen more. And I think probably the director and the entire team feels the same way. But you reach a point where you're getting everything done. You know that movement has to really play. So they definitely sunk their time into it. Yeah. But like, it wasn't a set piece the way that it could have been. It wasn't like we had this fight and we threw Red Guardian out through the thing and he landed on the helipad and the fight went out onto the helipad and then Walker fell off the edge, but Yelena caught him with the thing and like they were hanging off the side of the tower. Like there was just a level of like, we're going to keep this fight right here. Yeah. We're not leaving this set. This is our set because this is where we're doing it. And that was kind of, and similarly with the rescue of the people in the streets of New York before we went full void, there was like it was like, okay, here is Yelena's moment to save somebody. Yeah. Here is Alexi's moment. Here is Ghost's moment. Here is Walker's moment. Save, 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 save. Everybody lift the thing, fall over, cheer. And it worked. Like to Shannon's point, you feel good. You're like, oh man, they're heroes and everybody loves them. So it was great. But that was another area where you kind of craved a bigger set piece, but it was, here's the block. Here's the falling things. And I don't think, sometimes we talk about this a lot with the Marvel TV shows where you go, I don't think these directors, I don't think these people knew how to do action. Right. I don't think that's the case here. I think when you look at the way it's very contained and it's tight, this is we have this much money and this many days to make this movie and this is what we're doing and this gets the moment across. And so it's very tactical and it works, but it doesn't have that feeling of like, you really I always go to like John Wick movies. Like when a John Wick, you're like, John Wick is going to fight somebody in a donut shop. You know that is going to be a 15-minute scene and you're going to go, I didn't know donut shops could do that. Like you're like, holy shit. And we didn't quite get that, but everything worked and was satisfying. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I thought the action was, how can I say this? I agree with you guys wanting more. I totally accept that. I think we saw a little bit of the limits of Jake Schreier as a director of what kind of action he can shoot, because the action stuff in Beef was fun for what it was, but it's also very contained in where it's happening, right? So I think this is where you saw, as you said, Michael, the limit of the budget. So we got to see what he could do within the limits of the budget. And I love that you point out, like right after, you know, they are questioning themselves, they do have these moments where they have to step up and you're saving the girl and the little girl, you're saving the old lady. But I did love that when he saved the little girl, she went right into a black, like she disappeared. That great was moment. My entire audience gasped. Yes, that was an awesome twist. So, although it felt like a 1980s, 1990s superhero movie where you check the boxes on who's in trouble and you save everybody, they earned that because you were invested in the emotion that these people were going through, so that when you got to that moment, you wanted them to make the saves, you wanted them to be heroes, and so you liked it. Yeah. I did. Yeah, the two stand out. Yeah, Sentry using his power. I liked that it was quick and short because that's what made it all the more ferocious. It's like a lion fucking with you. You're just like, Jesus Christ, you know. And so it's like when they talk about those nature documentaries, how killer whales mess with seals for like 5 minutes before they kill them because they know they have them. It's that kind of ferocity. And I hear people complaining, as you said, Shannon. And I was like, when you're this powerful, you can do whatever you want. It's not going to really matter that you can just break glass 5 minutes ago. Once you accept it, you can go full on. And I think it actually made sense, because what was the thing about him is that he was being held back by his mind. Once she unlocked his mind to fully focus on what he wanted, then all this stuff came with it. So, and he has these delusions of grandeur. So once he actually saw he could do something, then all of his now, I put that in there because it's not in the movie, but you can make a case. So you can make a case, but a really easy fix that they could have done that I think would have calmed a lot of those concerns is if he had come out at the beginning And look, he's invincible. But like if he had come out at the
Yeah.
beginning and had kind of like been trying to do his thing, but it wasn't fully working, and Walker made some comment that he looked like an idiot in the thing, but then he gets pissed off, and once his anger overtakes things, then you have the scene play out as it did. If you had just had that ramp up moment where you were just like, oh, he's still a little bit clumsy. And then Walker's like, oh, Bob, this guy can't even do this right. And then it was like his eyes glowed and you're like, motherfucker. You'd be like, oh, I get it. And I think those, like, there's little things like that. But again, everything that I'm saying about this movie, just to be super clear in this review, is me nitpicking things that could have made moments better for a bunch of moments that I was perfectly satisfied with that I thought worked well.
Mikey really wanted to see the Hulk out. He wanted him to Hulk out, basically.
He wanted the shirt to rip off. But you're absolutely right.
I mean, did you see those abs?
You're not wrong.
He can rip his shirt off as much as he wants.
Oh, Lewis. It would have worked, Michael, too, because we had seen their burgeoning issues with each other from the beginning.
Right.
John Walker and Sentry. So yeah, it would have worked for sure. But yeah, overall, actually. All right, real quick, Taskmaster, what did we think about this? Yes, no, Michael, is it okay, or did we think it was a bit of a letdown, considering the story that woman went through in Black Widow and what she endured, being blown up and then put back together, made an assassin by the evil dude in charge of the Red Room, and then is just shot in the head by Ghost? Are we okay with this?
Was Taskmaster in the movie?
Yes. Gone too soon.
Honestly, I'm mostly curious about what happened.
Okay.
Because I don't feel like this was the original plan. I don't feel like they were like, let's put her in the movie and let's shoot her 5 seconds into the movie. I know that we've seen some footage, we've seen some shots that she was in Avengers Tower in a trailer and whatever, but like it just feels like as they were doing this movie, whether they were like, there's too many storylines or we don't need all these characters, or like you get to a point where you're like, okay, I know Ghost has a cool power. I know Yelena's story. I know Red Guardian's story. I know Bucky's story. I know John Walker's story. What are we doing with Taskmaster? And whether it was behind the scenes stuff that we don't know about, or they just realized that there's not a lot of interesting story for her, so there wasn't much to do with her. I think they just sort of reached a point where they're like, fuck, what do we do? Oh, let's do a shocking thing. So I think she was done dirty, but also I think that Taskmaster as a character in the MCU is someone that nobody was ever 100% satisfied with.
Yeah.
And so now it's like Taskmaster's open territory.
Yeah.
Like it's sort of like I don't care about her enough that I'm upset with what they did. Right. I think it was a little bit of a waste, but also we all knew after trailer 1 or trailer 2, we were like, well, she's not making it. So she died, and I was like, oh, okay, that's how she goes. Let's keep going.
I think, Shannon, this is the preview of what we're going to get, is the culling, Kevin Feige culling the characters that are not going to make it into the next phases after Secret Wars. So this is maybe the preview of that. What did you think of how they handled Taskmaster here?
I mean, you hear stories online that she originally had more to do back when I think Rachel Weisz was allegedly a part of it. Lawrence Fishburne was allegedly a part of it. Again, we don't know. I don't know how much more Kevin Feige can take away from Olga Kurylenko, because she really didn't do much in Black Widow either. I mean, she popped up at the end for the mask to come off. Depending on what the production actually did. Personally, I would have just removed her. Like, don't even shoot those scenes, because her death didn't do anything. Like, I know a lot of people will say, well, it sets the stakes. We don't know who's going to survive. And it's like, well, we had that Doomsday announcement, so we're pretty sure most people are going to live. But even taking that away, I mean, the whole anticipation of like, oh, who's going to make it out? It's like, this really isn't that movie. So I don't, it just seemed like kind of a wasted death. And I think you take one person out of that fight, then you have a 3-person fight. I think that is a little more visually dynamic. I think about the 3-way duel at the end of Dead Man's Chest, when it's Norrington, Will Turner, and Jack Sparrow. Like, watching 3 people fight is, for me, a little more interesting than watching 4 people, because it's like, all right, here's 2 and here's 2. watching three people is just kind of, again, it's just a little more exciting. And mainly just because, again, her death didn't do anything. Like no one thought that Yelena wasn't going to make it out. I mean, no one thought that Red Guardian wasn't going to make it out. So again, but it depends. I mean,
no, it's a great point, Shannon, because it did nothing to help Ghost either. It didn't mean like you were like, oh, whoa, it didn't really help Ghost in any way. And if you want to bring up a 3-person fight, even though 2 people are on the same side, that ending of Captain America Civil War, when those 3 guys are fighting, it's very dynamic, even though Cap and Bucky are on one side, the wrong side, but they're still on the side that they're doing the things that they're doing, which is really interesting to see. All right. One last thing before we jump into anything else. What did you guys think of the direction from Jake Schreier, as we mentioned here earlier? And I got to bring up the score. A lot of people are really enjoying Son Lux's score. You guys are score whores. So, gentlemen, tell me about this. What are your feelings on it overall? Shannon, I guess I'll go to you first. What are your thoughts on this?
That score is outstanding. Really, like for the last 2 weeks, I've been listening to the Sinners score on repeat in my car, and now I've transitioned over to the Thunderbolts score. Like, what is the composer's name? Son Lux.
Son Lux. Yeah.
Son Lux.
Son Lux.
Yeah. I have never heard of this composer before. I really, really enjoyed it because it just felt. It just captured the tone of the film. Like there was exciting stuff. There was also kind of a lightness, but then you could hear like this synth come in, this bass, and like, oh, there are stakes. There is something dark on the horizon. And especially when we get that announcement at the end, when, Val introduces them as the new Thunderbolts, as they kind of weave that Avengers theme under the Thunderbolts theme. I was like, oh, this is really, this is really, really special. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, Son Lux is 3 people, and their previous big score was for Everything Everywhere All at Once. That was the score that they did.
Oh my gosh. Come on.
So
that's great.
Yeah. So what did you think, Michael? And if you want to speak about Jake Schreier's direction as well, what do you think?
Yeah, look, I mean, I think the score was fantastic. It definitely popped for me. Like, it's definitely one that I'm going to go back into and dive in. I haven't dived in yet, but really, really enjoyed it. I think to Shannon's point, the thing that really struck me the most, I was really enjoying the score throughout, but it was when they announced them as the new Avengers at the end, and you sort of had a blend of the Thunderbolts theme with the Avengers theme, like Shannon said. Like, that was really, really nice. And then look, I think Jake did a great job. Like, I think by any stretch, he was given a tough task and he did it. And all of my complaints about this could have been bigger, this could have been better, I'm not sure that he can't do action.
Right.
I think he did really good action on the budget and the schedule that he had. And now look, if he gets his next Marvel movie and it's a much bigger, and we come out and go, the action could have been better, then okay, maybe that's that. But everything that happened here, it's like, listen, we've had a lot of bigger directors with more money and bigger budgets and more time release some Marvel movies that we have not been this effusive about. And so for him to kind of chug along under the radar and have this movie come out and all of us go, yes, more of this. This is what we want. I think he deserves a lot of credit for that.
I agree. I love the score. I've been listening to it as well over the last few days. And I think Jake Schreier did an excellent job for the film that he was asked to create. People joked about the A24 stuff. And I read, I think Vulture said this really well in their review, that, people made fun of that, but this actually was as close to A24 as the Marvel is going to get at this point. And you could, because of Jake Schreier's direction and because of the script here, which we should give some love to Tarek Pearson and Jonah Kahlo, they were able to not only mind Bob's mental health stuff, but clearly Yelena's. And there's some really good direction going on when we're focusing on Yelena and her questions about her life and her wanting more and her dealing with her sister's death and her wanting, just stuck in this job that she can do so well. How many people are doing a job they know they can do and they're doing it well, but they're bored out of their minds and they feel like they're going nowhere. She wants something more. And the way he shoots some of those scenes are really moving and personal, intimate. I mean, even the scene with her and Alexei when she first goes over and he's cleaning up all the fast food and all this shit. That house is so well decorated, but the way they're interacting with each other in the shots works so well, just like the action does as well. So good stuff overall for this. All right, let's deal with the post-credit scenes, Michael. I'll go to you first. New Avengers with a Z, according to Alexi there. He's figured it out. But we have a mid-credits scene, which is fun, with Alexi trying to push him on the Wheaties box here. But this final scene is the big one. And this was apparently directed by the Russo brothers. The New Avengers and Bob discuss an ongoing problem in outer space. Outer space, as John Walker figures out. When they receive a distress signal from an interdimensional spacecraft with the large 4 emblem on it and debate the New Avengers nickname, which Sam has apparently, Bucky's buddy, has filed a trademark lawsuit over, because we heard, of course, in Captain America 4 that he was tasked with creating the New Avengers or a different Avengers team. So, Michael, did you like the post-credit scene? Did it work for you? Did it make sense? And chime in if you like on the mid-credit scene as well.
Well, I mean, the mid-credit scene is just great. I mean, it's just dumb, but it's great. Like, I mean, they really just took the Wheaties joke and ran with it, but they really stuck the landing there with that post-credit sequence. I think had that been the only post-credit sequence, I would have been like, okay, it was cute. But when you knew that there was like a meaty one coming up, that was a perfectly good midpoint post-credit sequence. Again, I think obviously the reveal of the Fantastic Four is the big news there, but I think what gives me hope for Doomsday and Secret Wars is the way that they very simply and effortlessly laid the stage. So and again, there have been so many Marvel movies and Marvel TV shows and Marvel post-credit sequence where we come out, I mean, I'll pick on Shang-Chi a little bit. You're like, oh, these 10 rings, we're examining them. And you're like, all right, cool. Bruce and Carol and Wong are with Shang-Chi and they're looking at these things. And you're like, so are Bruce and Carol and Wong the Avengers now? Or are they just talking? Or is Shang-Chi an Avenger? Like, where are we going with this? And you came out of that post-credit sequence and it wasn't just the big question of who are these rings reaching out to? I didn't know the fuck was going on. Is this the team? And so you sort of we had a lot of that going on. And so to kind of have them, we announced them as the New Avengers at the end of the movie. You have a really fun credit sequence where you're watching all of the news stories and we go, oh, okay, America isn't sure about this team. Right. And I think that's really smart too. We went from this big announcement that they're the New Avengers to the B-Vengers. Can they do it? Are they going to lead? So you, even before you got to the post-credit sequence, you understood contextually that the world wasn't necessarily sold on this new team. So then you get to the end and you instantly you pick up the thread from Brave New World, which, do I love Brave New World? No. Does it exist? Yes. So you have to deal with it. And so we're like, okay, Sam said he was going to go start a team and he told Joaquin he was going to be on it. And we instantly pick up that thread. You're like, oh man, well now Sam is saying he's this, but we're in the building. The government is on our side. Yeah, but Sam's got the shield and the internet doesn't really love us. Well, what are we going to do? Well, he's suing us. And then you automatically just get it. I understand what's happening. And so you've set the stage. Okay, there's going to be 2 different Avengers teams. They don't agree with each other. Bucky and Sam had a fight about it. Love it. I get all of this. Bob is over here. He's not the Sentry anymore, and he won't be the Sentry because we got the Void, but he did do the dishes. Cool. Oh, there's space problems. The Fantastic Four are here. So they just went boom, boom, boom. And they just established all of this stuff for us so that now we can get to Doomsday. And I know who's in Avengers Tower. Right. I don't know where Sam is. I hope they're not in that shitty apartment that him and Joaquin were operating out of at the end of Brave New World. But I hope they have a cool, but maybe they'll be back on the big Avengers campus that they had after they left the tower. Right. And that'd be great. So it's automatically they've done a really nice job with this post-credit sequence of we're going to find out how the Fantastic Four get there in July. But when we get to Doomsday, if we open it up now and we've got one Avengers team in the tower, one Avengers team somewhere else, and the world is very confused about who's supposed to be protecting them. And then that's a great beginning to the movie. And they did that very efficiently since they had sort of dropped the ball for several movies previous to this.
That's a fair point, Shannon. I agree with what Michael is saying here. And it's interesting because it's 14 months later. This post-credit scene is 14 months later after the end of Thunderbolts. And so you've got 2 separate teams, but Valentina's team is apparently currently under the current government, whereas Sam's team was created under the former president's government. So how is that going? It adds strife already from the beginning as well. What did you think of the post-credit scenes and that lady throwing the cereal box down at the end with the Wheaties? What do you think?
Well, to Red Guardian's point of seeing something with your face on it and you want someone else to notice it, I may or may not have been on a flight a few years ago, and in the on the Delta little programming, maybe Silicon Valley was on there, and the season that maybe I turned it on. I was like, hey, you seen this show? It's pretty good. And much like the woman in the grocery store, my seatmate had no clue what I was talking about, would not take the hint, even though
Did you just keep leaning closer to the screen? Did you just keep going like,
hey, do you want to hear this one guy's really funny? Do you want to hear the joke? So I thought the Wheaties scene was outstanding, but also I agree with Vogel in terms of the closing credits. Like that, I love that type of credit where there's still story happening, that you can tell that the world is divided, how they feel about this new group of people. And going into Infinity War, the Avengers were fractured because of the events of Civil War. And so this is the same kind of fracturing that they are doing, that you have two competing teams of superheroes. And it's sort of like, the fire brigades back in New York. It's like they would fight over who gets to put out this fire back in the 19th century. So I think it's really, really well set up for what we're going to get. And it's just got us super curious for Fantastic Four as well. Like, it sure seems like their universe is going to implode, but maybe it's not. Maybe there's another thing that is going to happen. I did think it was funny because Vogel's friend Travis, I ran into him before our movie started. My wife and I were having a drink. He and his friends had just come out of the theater, and he's kind of like, hey, for the post-credit scene, don't look at the actual credits because something gets spoiled. And I'm kind of like, oh, okay, good note. So as the credits are rolling, I'm deliberately avoiding it. I'm talking with my wife. I'm talking to Mike Kalinowski, what we thought of the movie. And right as I'm kind of like, all right, it feels like they're wrapping up, I look and boom, I immediately see Fantastic Four theme composed by Michael Giacchino. I'm like, well, I guess that's what we're seeing. I mean, the thing that I deliberately avoided for 5 minutes.
I did the same thing. I was sure that it was like, oh, a cast list. Oh, so-and-so. Oh, it's going to be Robert Downey Jr. in the cast. I was like, I'll wait. Oh, we're to the music. I can look now. Ah, God damn it.
This is why I always text through the end credit scenes till we get to the post. Yeah, I mean, to me, I love the Wheaties thing. I thought that was hilarious and perfect. Alexi. He's like the Paulie of this universe. In the Rocky universe, he's like the Paulie, constantly thinking of ways to make money and make himself bigger. And that from the beginning, he's wanted more recognition. So it won't end. Just like John Walker doom scrolling, it won't end like he is in that post-credit scene at the end there. Then seeing all the interactions here, all of it, the way they're setting up their dynamics and the uniforms, I thought were pretty awesome as well. That I enjoyed overall with that the look of the Avengers as well. But look, where's the West Coast Avengers, right? I mean, we've got Vision. Is that going to lead us? So we might have multiple teams of Avengers, and dare I bring up the Great Lakes Avengers? If this could be a running thing where like teams are forming Avengers teams without official Avengers like a certification, this could be an interesting, funny subplot until we get to the dramatic stuff. Will happen in Doomsday and Secret Wars, but I don't know. Just throwing it out there. So
well, it's going to be interesting because so I don't think we're going to get Vision. Only because I think White Vision is not the Vision series is not coming out before Doomsday.
Right.
Like there's just no way. Like it's just not. So I don't know. And from everything we've heard about Spider-Man Brand New Day, it sounds pretty grounded.
Yes.
Which means to me, whatever happens in Doomsday, the multiverse isn't collapsing yet.
Right.
Like that, which means that maybe we get a White Vision series between Doomsday and Secret Wars, and then he's in, I think one of the things that I'm starting to do is like I'm trying to bunch people together, like who's where. So it's sort of like we now know who's in Avengers Tower. So that's a big chunk of the cast that we're like, okay, I know where they are. I know the X-Men and Monica Rambeau are over here. And now you've got Sam with, you know, a year and change that he's been putting together a team. And so that means when Doomsday starts, we can just automatically go, oh, okay, we're going to cut to Sam wherever. And somebody did point out, yeah, I guess the Avengers campus did get exploded by Thanos. I kind of forgot about that part.
That's right. Yeah.
But you know, like, so if we just open up with Sam, kind of like the opening of Civil War, where you sort of see them working with the new team. If it's like, don't yell at me about my team choices, but if it's like Sam, Carol, Joaquin, Shang-Chi, She-Hulk, Miss Marvel, you know, like what, you know, like whoever it is, and he's trying to get them to work together, and then the fucking Thunderbolts Avengers show up, and they're like, oh, these fucking assholes. Like it's just, that's what has been lacking, and has been sort of the part that makes me nervous, is the context. And now that we have this context going in, even though they still have a lot of heavy lifting to do, I think Electric State on Netflix aside, it's starting to feel like maybe the Russo brothers are cooking. Like, I'm like, okay, maybe this is working.
Maybe. That was a good scene. Yeah, you've got the Avengers, the new Avengers, the young Avengers, the mighty Avengers, the dark Avengers. You've got the uncanny Avengers, the Avengers Unity Division.
Well, we don't have that many people in the MCU, so we don't have all those.
All possibilities. And where's Ironheart gonna? Where is she gonna land after that series comes out, which I think is in June? So we will see overall. All right. Any final words, gentlemen, before we get to the Streamlabs and Super Chats here? Wrap up our spoiler review of Thunderbolts. Any final words, Mike? I'll go to you first. And any issues we didn't hit on, please feel free to talk about them.
No, I think, and I mean, I said this on Twitter, but you know, you mentioned the mental health stuff, and we didn't talk a ton about everything that happens in with the Void, but I do think that the way that this movie just made you come out and go, like Yelena has a great speech with Bob where she's just like, or I think actually it's the Alexi scene where she's like, you know, I go home, I look at my phone, I drink, I think about all the terrible things that I've done, and I don't have anybody and I'm alone. And look, there are people that have serious mental health problems that they really, really, really struggle with depression. But I think what was great about this movie is we've all felt that way. Everybody feels alone sometimes. Everybody feels depressed sometimes. And I think this movie coming in and going, you don't have to carry that burden alone. You're not alone. You have people. Like, in addition to me being a nerd who's just happy that the MCU is back on track, that's a really nice message. That's way better to come out of a movie than going, wow, they blew that guy up at the end. Really cool. Yeah. Wow, all those ants really took Kang down. Like, this actually, like you come out going, this was really, really lovely. So I think that, you know, do I wish the movie had been a little bigger in parts? Sure. But they really nailed it. They nailed the MCU vibe. They got back on track, and they kind of came out with a movie that made you feel a little bit less alone. And I think that's really, really great.
Yeah, I agree with that. Shannon, your final thoughts on anything we missed that you want to make sure we bring up?
Summer movies are here, and this is a great one to have out of the gate. I think the MCU, when it is at its best, it is comfort food. Like, it's something very easy that you can throw on a Saturday afternoon with some takeout and just sit and get lost for a couple of hours. And for me, even though, like, yes, we had thoughts, we had some critical thoughts. Overall, Thunderbolts is absolutely comfort food, and it's a movie I will probably revisit a couple more times in theater.
Yeah, listen, not all movies are gonna have to be the greatest things ever. Sometimes they're just good, enjoyable movies that leave you with a smile on your face and make you feel, I don't know, comforted. Michael, you brought it up really well. You know, you guys know my struggles and what I've gone through. This movie spoke to me in a lot of ways, but it also had the humor, which I think is super important about MCU. Those moments where you have to laugh in order to break the tension. You have to have a little joke, not shoved in jokes, organic jokes that make sense in the moment. And they work. Jokes from naturally coming out organically from the character you've created, like a lot of Alexi stuff. David Harbour really delivers some great comedy here, but it's all from a place of emotion, personal emotion of what he's experiencing and how he sees the world. He is a jovial guy, but he still has his moments where he knows he's not good at certain things, like being affectionate to people. Even though he's supportive, he's not really good at the touchy-feely stuff. And so I love that you're exploring all these different areas and what people have to deal with and overcome. And I think a lot of people in the Marvel, a lot of fans in the Marvel universe can see themselves in one of these characters, if not more of these characters, when they're watching the movie. And by the end, and I think, Michael, you said it best, it moves the MCU along. And that's an important thing by the end. And so, and considering all the stops and starts and the hurdles this film had to overcome, the fact that it came out this well, I think speaks more.
You didn't even think it was going to happen.
I mean, really? It's surprising. Asterisk, it did happen. So, all right. Anyway, let's move on to these Streamlabs and Super Chats before and get on out of here afterwards. Here, I got to do it like this, I think. There we go. Remove the boxes somewhat so I can bring up these. All right, here we go. Julius Wyatt says, your light is dim even by Eastern European standards. There you go.
Great line. Great joke.
Also, Julius, really enjoyed the movie. Haven't felt this way about an MCU movie since Guardians 3. Florence Pugh is such a gem, put her in everything. Yeah.
Agreed.
We all said that. Julius also says, Sam Wilson's Avengers versus New Avengers isn't interesting to me, at least not for the moment. I caught score credit and knew the Fantastic Four with the post credit, just like you guys did. Yeah, absolutely. There you go.
I mean, like, look, I think, I mean, obviously we just talked about it and you heard that we do think it's interesting, but I think more than whether it's interesting or not, I think we all understand where we're going now.
Yeah.
Like whether you're excited about it or not, we all, for the first time in a long time, know where we're headed. And that is a big step forward from where we've been for like the past year or so. Yeah.
Agreed. Absolutely. Rodney Laborde says, I think a sneaky reason why the movie hits is that the TBs have been the the Thunderbolts have been the one consistent thread set up through phases 4 and 5. It connects 5 movies / Disney Plus shows. It was really satisfying to see them form. Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, we've had time with these characters as opposed to like Suicide Squad, which some people were comparing this movie to, like where we didn't have a lot of time with those characters. We did have time with the characters before this movie. Yeah.
Yeah, and this was we weren't picking up Doctor Strange. We weren't picking up Thor. Like, yeah, Bucky is there, but Bucky is really picking up his Falcon and Winter Soldier story. Ghost is sort of thrown in from phase 3 with Ant-Man and Wasp. But yeah, these are all phases 4 and 5 characters for the most part, living in that shadow of the Avengers, picking up the ball. And there is something meta about the phase 4 and 5 characters coming in and being like, yeah, we're kind of the losers. We're not as good as phases 1, 2, and 3. But then they sort of prove themselves by the end. And we're like, all right, maybe you got it. Maybe you do. Like there's a meta aspect to that was really fun.
Yeah. Something came out of this at least. Yeah. DT Jerry says, I hope we get a true new Avengers, Dark Avengers, or Thunderbolts in the future. Yeah. Anything's possible, I guess. Once they
got to get a Norman Osborn to get a true Dark Avengers.
That's a good point. Rodney Laborde says, might be a top 5 MCU score, and JLD is not the right fit for Val, in my opinion. Zero energy. In my mind, Val has a Frances McDormand vibe. Still love the movie. I have to disagree, and I've been the strongest against her being in the MCU. This was the perfect usage of her, and if this is their approach, I'm on board with this. You're not going to get Francis now. You've cast JLD. So,
What would you guys have done if I had been all pro Val until this movie, and then I was like, guys, she lost me. She lost me with Thunderbolts.
I'd have been like, I don't know what to do. Brian Brawler says he doesn't like our changes, but he's being a ball buster. So I appreciate that. Thank you, Brian. Daniel San says Thunderbolts was 5 of 10 for me, but better than that crap movie, Captain America 4. Oh, wow. 5 out of 10. That's a shame. All right. Go ahead, Mike. Yeah.
No, I was like higher than 5 out of 10, but yes, definitely better than that crap Cap movie.
Yeah.
Yes. I would put it at an 8 out of 10. Like it's especially after a second viewing, it went up in my estimation as well.
Yeah. I gave it 4 out of 5 on my review for sure. Cowboys fan 92 says the film's been spoiled for me by social media. So let's go. Bob being Sentry has been spoiled in credit scenes as well. So let's hear your review. Then I'll go see it. All right. You just heard it. So hopefully you will go see it. Cowboys fan.
like fucking, I already been spoiled. Let the Geek Buddies spoil the rest of it.
Chris A says the Bob chicken meth joke was the best joke moment in the movie for me. Also, I love that New York City isn't fully on board with the new Avengers in the credits. In the clippings, it shows consistently. Yes, absolutely. That's a New York City for you. 8 out of 10.
I did love when Bob yelled, "I was on meth." I was like, "This is the first time anybody in a Marvel movie has yelled, I was on meth."
Yeah, that David Harbour line. Bob, if Chicken You hits me one more time.
Let's see. Drea says, I prefer the Earthbound characters, so this is up my alley. Only wish we got a rapid fire scene of everyone else entering the void and their horror rooms. Yeah, we didn't see the ghost, right? We didn't see Ghost go into her horror room, right? So that was the one that we didn't get. Yeah.
And there is like, I was especially watching it the second time, you sort of get a sense of pacing. And like, even though there's a part of me that really would have liked to have seen Walker run past himself, killing the guy from, like there's definitely some moments you're like, that would have played really well. It would have, there's a moment, there's just Yelena and Bob are fighting, and there's just this moment of all of them coming in to save them. That's a real like, yeah. And you would have lost that a little bit. But I don't disagree. Like, there's a part of me that wishes I could have seen that.
Yeah. I don't know. They kept bringing up each other's issues throughout the movie. So we kind of saw that already. But, I hear you. It would have been interesting to see that for sure. Vivek Kanti says, love Thunderbolts, which tells us that sometimes all we need is a hug. Also, Trump just introduced 100% tariffs on movies produced outside the United States. Oh, no, there you go. Don't bring us down, Vivek. Don't bring us down. Alex Holly says, always love the each episode, but not in the intro. Don't know why. Maybe if it was from an early in-person episode that's in perfect sync. Oh my God, Alex, why don't you do it then? All right, thank you, Alex. I will bring that up with our editor.
Don't listen to him, Alex. You say exactly how you feel. It's fine.
Otherwise, the new intro is fine. Oh, thank you.
See? Great. See?
Oh my God. Wiley Todd says, I love the moment, but we got to stop putting Pony as a needle drop in a lot of movies as a punchline. Yeah, the Genuine song when they turn it on in the limo. I like that.
If the punchline works, the punchline works. And as Shannon has proven, you can use the same punchline over and over and over again.
Oh, wow. What is that? I don't know what that means.
Dark Tour Strange does not care for this.
Oh, Dark Tour Strange. Oh, I love it. She was like, what kind of people are you transporting? Oh, Jeff Howardson says, love Sentry, but not gonna lie, his costume gave me flashbacks of Adam Man from Superman and Quest for Peace. Oh, how dare you? How dare you?
Is it Atomic Man from Superman 4? Or is it I think it's Atomic Man.
Is it Atomic Man? All right.
I don't know, and I'm not gonna go watch it to find out. I just sort of avoid that. I just do like a little, oh no, that doesn't exist. Let's just not look at that.
I don't need strings on my villains to make them go through floors of a hotel. Alex Hawley says, I never wanted Boris and Natasha to be father and daughter, but it works. I'm here for it.
Her face, when that limo pulls up and Walker's like, what is that? And she's like, oh God. She's
covering her face. Oh, man. When
Nuclear
you heard
Man. Nuclear Man.
Oh,
that's
okay.
what it was.
Chris Corker says, I think they missed a chance to improve on Taskmaster, despite how she was in Black Widow. Also seems like they changed her role in reshoots and caved to people who wanted the male Taskmaster. Olga deserved better. I think, Shannon, you touched on that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they caved. I think they made a choice with Black Widow, and that was, as Vogel said, that choice existed, and that's what they had to work with. And, it's just, that's how she was used.
Well,
yeah.
And I mean, I forgot until Shannon mentioned it that early on there was rumors that Rachel Weisz was in this and Lawrence Fishburne was in this. And like, knowing that Ghost is here and knowing that Taskmaster is here, there's definitely a version of this movie where you tie into other things and Taskmaster has a bigger role. I think what ended up happening, to the benefit of all, we talk a lot about Wakanda Forever. And one of the flaws, I think we all agree with that movie, is that it's a little bit overstuffed.
Yes.
You're setting this up here. You got Riri Williams here, and then you've got the Namor of it all, but then there's this going on. And you get to a point where you're like, I feel like we're setting up so many So if it was true that there was sort of a Rachel Weisz thing and a Red Room thing going on and Lawrence Fishburne with Ghost and everything, and you just sort of said, you know what? Let's just simplify.
Right.
And Taskmaster was the victim of that. It probably, in the big scheme of things, was still the right choice.
Yeah, fair point. Cody Hunt says, is it just me or did the movie feel like it didn't have a third act? The Void resolution felt too easy and the new Avengers announcement felt rushed and abrupt. I feel like there's a beat missing in there. I got to say, I don't disagree. I did feel like the resolution was a little simple, but this is the first presentation of this kind of mental health stuff in the MCU. So it's the first time Bob is dealing with it and people get him out of it, right? The next time he deals with it is going to be more severe. So this is just the first time with people around to help him out, which is something he's never experienced. I think there will be a plussing of it the next time it happens. And the Valentina getting a pass at the end, you needed that line though them saying, "We own you," in order to make it balanced. Yeah.
I will say, as someone who spent several years working on My Little Pony: Friendship is Magic, where we did defeat a lot of villains with hugs and rainbows, I think I have some authority in this area. And I also agree. And I think that it's actually, and again, I love the movie. I love that they defeated the villain with a hug, ultimately.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I kind of was clocking this the second time is, like, Bob is beating up on the Void.
Yeah.
They are like, this is wrong. They all run and hug him. He's crying. They fall backwards. They're out. Everything fades away. And it does happen very fast. And what we did a lot in My Little Pony is, you can have the hug be the thing, but if the hug had happened and then the room had started to fracture, and then you cut to New York City and saw light shooting through the void, like there could have been a little bit more of a spectacle to it that didn't take away from the fact that the hug itself was the thing that did it.
Yeah.
And I think had you added a little bit more bells and whistles to it in that way, it wouldn't have felt quite as abrupt and would have had a little bit more of that satisfying thing. So again, it falls under the category of what they chose to do, I think was the right choice. But I think there's ways you could have, like, sort of lived in it a little bit more, made it a bit more. Guardians of the Galaxy ends with a dance-off.
Yeah, it's true.
But and then they all hold hands at the end, and that's what saves the day. Guardians of the Galaxy also has a Friendship is Magic ending, but their Friendship is Magic ending ends with cosmic special effects and everybody about to break apart from the power of the Infinity Stone. And so it works. It feels bigger than this did, even though it's in effect the same thing.
Shannon, anything to add to that? Are you good?
Well, I think the lack of a third act, or what the feeling of a lack of a third act, is they are in Utah a long time. They get to the vault. They're in the vault for a while. Then you have the sequence at night where Bob flies away. Then you have the chase. And then you're in this gas station. Boom, they're in New York. I mean, granted, a plane does come to get them. Alexei driving from D.C. to Utah in about 16 hours in that limo. That's, we get some Game of Thrones season 7 travel time. But
Dude, you're 100% right. I thought that in the movie the first time I saw it. I was like, what? Wait a minute.
a limo that struggles to hit 60.
Yeah.
He got there real fast. But overall, again, it as a film, it worked.
Maybe he threw it as a super soldier. He threw it a few miles. Elusive Rock says, what are the chances that RDJ Doom is on that ship with the Fantastic Four? Do you guys think Doom will be from his own universe? Also, new layout slaps. Thank you, Elusive Rock. Thank you.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah. I don't think he's on
I
the
do
ship.
not think that RDJ's Doom is from the Fantastic Four universe. Shannon's right. We don't know, and we'll find out when the movie comes out. But I do not think that we're going to see RDJ's Doom and Reed being friends. I don't think that this Doom is interchangeable with the Victor Von Doom we know. I think I think they came up with a fully new story of a Tony Stark variant or something, and it's going to be a completely other thing, is my guess.
Interesting. Okay. All right. Francisco Lopez says, I really liked Thunderbolts, the best MCU film since Guardians of the Galaxy 3. It felt like a small film in a big film. The gang was great, especially Pugh and Pullman. And he kept going. I like the way they tackle mental health throughout the movie and not in one or two scenes. Also, Alexei was too much that I got tired of him after watching the film. I see why Stephen Yeun was originally cast as Bob. Yeun will have done great as Bob, but Pullman did a great, especially with the emotional part. Yeah, fair point. Okay, Alexei,
agreed.
An issue for you. Okay. Carver Tate, I just got home from seeing the movie when you started the show, so just want to say I loved it, and I'm grateful to you all for the live show. Oh, thank you, Carver.
I'm glad that timing worked out.
No shit. Katie O'Hara says, Michael, totally agree. More of Bob's abs, please. Oh, there you go. All right.
Right? I mean, goddamn.
I feel like there's an Independence Day 3 coming with him as his father's son. Fantastic 314 said they called themselves the Thunderbolts because of Yelena's soccer team was a funny fake out. Yeah.
And I will say this, with all of the rumors about Superman going around and everybody getting pissed, this is where context is everything, because I remember when this leaked like a year ago and the internet went fucking rabid. Like, are you telling me that the Thunderbolts is because of her soccer team? This is fucking stupid. They're fucking, what the fuck more? And like, when you see it in the movie contextually, it was lovely. It really worked. It was a good runner. They kind of made the most of it. So I think this is, again, one of those things where you're like, sometimes we hear things and it's not what it is from the comics, but when you see the movie and you see what they were trying to do, you're like, oh, I get it now. Yeah,
I agree. Let's see. All right. Rachel Leia. What's up, Rachel? I was happy to see Ghost. She was my favorite part of Ant-Man and the Wasp. Also proven chemistry with Wyatt from their Black Mirror episode together.
Oh yeah.
Right. Yeah, her and Wyatt Russell. That's right. Cowboys Fan 92 says this film's message was just so well done and stuck the landing at the same time. Personally, for me, John, because I lost my mom in 2023-2024. That's right. Yeah, feel you, brother. Feel you. Carver Tate also says, did Bucky look too out of shape to y'all? Oh my God, we're gonna fat shame Bucky. I know he's in good shape for your average guy, but shouldn't the Hydra serum technically keep him buff?
So one, he is in a suit for the majority of it, but also there are things like we don't know what Sebastian Stan shot before this, and sometimes the human body can only change so much in a certain amount of time. I don't know if he shot The Apprentice. I don't know where those shooting schedules, how they lined up, but ultimately, I think the serum is more about making you physically strong, doesn't necessarily make you shredded. Like it could.
Look at Alexi.
You can bench. Look at Alexi. You know what? I was gonna make a joke, but I'm gonna take it back. Look at
Alexi. Casey Friends, I think here's what I'll say. I think it keeps you in some shape. But I mean, Alexi's clearly eating a lot of fast food, so he's gonna put a little punch on there.
Maybe he's door dashing salads. You don't know.
A lot of containers that didn't look like salads in that room.
Also, Thor as a god got a belly. So
that's true.
If a god can get out of shape, so can a super soldier. Casey Friend says the look JLD gives Bob at the end before announcing New Avengers is gold. They truly do own Val. Yeah.
Because he's just he didn't know he was on the team.
Yeah.
He was just clapping. It's like, this is great, guys.
her face when he says, "Why do I even need to listen to you? Why should a god listen to?" And her horror that comes on her face was amazing.
I really did enjoy the line when she was like, "You're tossing the word God around a whole lot," and he was just like, "Well, you said I'm stronger than all the Avengers, and there's at least one God on the team." So I was like, "Yeah, this guy's trouble."
Yeah, agreed. Fantastic 314. I think we got Ghost's horror scene in Ant-Man and the Wasp when she lost her family. Oh, sure. But we also saw horror scenes for all the guys before they got into this situation, I think. But yeah, I hear your point, Fred. Joshua A says Stephen Yeun would have made a heartbreaking Bob.
He would have been great.
He would have been good. But honestly, I'm glad we got Louis Pullman because outside of Top Gun Maverick, I'm like, I didn't know a ton about his work, and seeing what he was able to bring to this, it's like, oh, okay, Bill Pullman's son is going to be a star now.
Yeah, apparently he's in Lessons in Chemistry, the Brie Larson show. Apparently
he's great in Lessons in Chemistry.
Okay, all right.
He's really, really great in Lessons in Chemistry. He does an amazing job. Heartbreaking in Lessons in Chemistry, but but the comedy chops that he kind of had here, combined with the real emotion that you got, those two kind of balancing. And Stephen Yeun could have done it too. Like, he's great at it, but I do think this was really, he did it. He was great.
I don't know if he would have captured the villainy quite like Lewis did. Like that, when he fully embraces his power and he has this almost like psychopathic detachment, you're just like, holy fuck. And I don't know if I've seen Steven play that. Yeah, so I don't know if that would have worked. Yeah, go ahead.
Also, when so Louis Pullman, when he is the Void and Bob says, "I'm stronger than you," and even though all you see are his eyes, but you hear him say, "Let's see." Like knowing that is the same actor acting opposite themselves. I mean, that was just such a chilling moment.
Yeah, agreed. Fantastic 314 says, "Hey, Geek Buddies, wanted to get this in before I head to work. I'll be watching when you go live and can't wait for all the ridiculous goodness. Also, dads, am I right? They don't care about embarrassing their kids. Just ask Yelena."
Seriously.
Anthony says, "Florence Pugh is an actress who can bring a tear to my eye. High praise also goes to Sebastian Stan. He never complains. Even after getting his Oscar nomination, he was out defending the MCU and Marvel fans. He is the connective bridge to all phases." That's an excellent point, right? From phase 1 to now, he is the connective bridge, and he has always defended Marvel. He has never said negative, and always when people try to come for Marvel, he defends them. So yeah,
I think it's Bucky and Loki are the characters that have appeared in every single phase.
Yeah. Well, Chris Evans is coming back. Oh yeah. Ray the Force says, "The Sam Bucky breakup hurts me, but I kind of get where Sam is coming from since he is clearly very disillusioned with the government, which is a very Captain America-like trait."
Also, Val is straight up a criminal. So, like if Sam was like, "Hey, you're being run by a criminal," I don't really know what the retort is. They're like, "Yeah, we know."
Yeah, but we control her, we think. Yeah, oh, sure you do. Cap Caleb says, "Everyone deserves a second shot. The movie slogan worked for the characters' arcs, but also for how the fans see them. I already loved each member of the Thunderbolts, but I think each of them have boosted their status up to, or at least towards, fan favorite."
Yeah.
I would
like, we're all rooting for this team now.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Even more so when you go see it again. Like you become even more like, someone put that meme up, like, "I didn't know this team until a week ago, but now I'll kill anyone who comes for it," with Rocha from Brooklyn Nine-Nine. It's great. Cap Caleb says, "Thanks for the content and doing what you guys do, Geek Buddies. Just did another trip to Universal, but missed Shannon. Lots of love from Stockton, California." That's awesome. It's very sweet. All right, we got 4 of these, and then 3 of these we left, and we'll go here. Rachel Leah says, "Bucky was eating Ben's Chili's bowl, classic DC restaurant, very popular with tourists and transplants." Oh.
Based on the comments, maybe you should be eating a little bit less chili.
Hello. Derek Johnson says, "Support. I can't watch live. Love the show." Thank you, Derek.
Oh, thank you, Derek.
Thank you, Derek.
Always great to see you. Joshua says, "Cried my eyes out. Inside Out Pixar vibes." Oh, that's awesome, man. Yeah.
You know, another thing, thinking of the crying my eyes out, that's another thing that Louis Pullman has, and not every actor has this. Louis Pullman has a really good crying face. Like there are some actors who have cry faces and it looks kind of weird. Like Wyatt Russell, like when he's holding up that thing and it looked like he's kind of crying. It's like, oh yeah, that's not a good face. Louis Pullman's crying face is heartbreaking.
It is.
Yeah. Good point.
You got one? Yeah.
Go ahead, Mike.
No, go ahead. Okay.
One last one here. Fred Tazza 314. "Pullman is a curveball for strike 3 and Moon is a slider for strike 3. Different pitches, but both worked. Happy we got some baseball talk in here." Thank you.
you know the little Mac wheel, the multicolored wheel that your computer makes. That's what Michael's face is doing right now.
I see what you're saying.
Loading.
Yeah, listen, guys. The sports only goes so far in this box. The sports only goes so far.
Buffering.
All right, well, there you go. That's all the Streamlabs and Superchats. Thanks to everyone. We had 400 of you joining us live throughout most of this review, so we can't thank you enough for taking time on a busy Sunday, especially when Last of Us is on right now. So thank you all so much for hanging out with us live to talk about everything we did with Thunderbolts. For my two compatriots, final words, and then let's wrap it up. Shannon, we go to you first. And then tell people what they can do. Yeah.
Super enjoyed this film. Summer movies are here. This is a great one out of the gate. If you'd like to follow us on social media, on Twitter, it's @geek_buddies. On Instagram, at @the_geek_buddies. If you'd like to follow me on social media, on Twitter, it's @Shannon_McClung. On Instagram, it's Shannon the Geek Buddy. You've got more sports metaphors, throw them over to Michael Vogel @MKToon. You got more sports metaphors for someone who's going to get them, throw it over to John Rocha @The Rocha Says.
It's a fair point. Mikey.
All right, guys, here we are in the bottom of the ninth, and we only got a couple yellow flags before we go to the OT, and we're going to make some three-pointers. So, well, here's what you can do to really bring it home for the team. You can smash the like button below. Subscribe to Johnny's Outlaw Nation page. Check out all the amazing content he's got there. If you are listening to this review later on, leave your comments below. Let us know what you thought about Thunderbolts. If you're listening to us on the podcast, go ahead and leave us some stars and comments in the rankings so we get more popular. More people can check us out. And as always, the best thing you can do is retweet this video, post it on your socials, send it to your friends, and tell them to hang out with your buddies, the Geek Buddies.
Go!
There you go. Go! Goal. All right, thank you to these wonderful gentlemen for joining me to talk about this stuff, and thank you to all of you who joined us for it all. Remember, we've got our podcast, as Michael was stressing. Really want to get people to subscribe to the podcast wherever you download podcasts. Find the Geek Buddies and subscribe. We got more and more clients coming in, more and more sponsors coming on to the show. So the more numbers we do, the bigger ones we can attract. So we need your help to do that. Even if you can't contribute to Streamlabs Super Chat, subscribing on the podcast feed is super important, and my channel as well. But really, the podcast feed is the most important. All right, take care of yourselves. Be well. We're on our way to Fantastic Four, and we'll talk to you next time with another brand new spoiler review episode from the MCU here from the
Geek
Buddies.